today I want to showcase a nice asset that might be useful for you, the Clothing Culler asset that can solve the clipping issues between your character and clothing. When fixing clipping issues in 3D software, many clothing combinations can lead to time consuming, and even sometimes break your progress in modeling or shape keys that you have set up for your own character. This asset will help you to easily solve the clipping issues and save time. Thanks to the developer, I can explore the assets and show it to you. After you import the assets, there are some demos that you can look at. If you find that documentation is a little confusing, just follow along and finish the implementation of Clothing Culler for your character, then everything will be easily understandable. Okay, I have created a character for my game, and actually I masked the body with cloth. So as you can see, I don't have a body where I have cloth, and this is the correct way of modeling, but sometimes you have to place the body under the cloth and clipping will show up so fast. Let me run an attack animation. As you can see, I have a clipping issue around the neck and sweater. There are 3 ways to fix it. The first is starting to modeling again, and you will lose the shape keys if you have one. The second approach is weight painting, but it might cause other problems. And the third one is using the Clothing Culler asset, which is much simpler than others. You will reference prefabs so that the Clothing Culler system can identify the object it needs to work with. Next, you will configure occluder relationships between these prefabs, clarifying which prefab occludes which. Finally, you will generate and refine occlusion data for each relationship. There are different workflows. Modular clothing workflow is the best choice for characters that can change their clothing during the game. This means that when a piece of clothing is unequed, it must be deregistered at the player's Clothing Culler components. Nested clothing workflow is the best choice for characters that cannot change their clothing during the game. This means that all clothing that is part of the prefab only has to be registered at the Clothing Culler component once, and never deregistered. For today, I want to only cover the nested clothing approach, but there is not much difference between these two, so don't worry if you look up the document, everything is explained. Start by creating prefabs of objects you have clipping issues. In my situation, the body and sweater have clipping issues. So I create 2 prefabs, one for body and one for sweater. After you have added a clothing prefab, if you notice that is invisible, in order to make it visible, you must assign the correct bones for each skinned mesh renderer. Clothing Culler comes with the Resolve Skinned Mesh Bones editor window that will guide you through this process. Navigate to Windows, Clothing Culler, Resolve Skinned Mesh Bones. The first step is to assign the root transform, and the second step is to assign the skinned mesh renderer. The third step is to ensure all transform fields have been assigned to the correct bones. Lastly, use the Resolve button to update the skinned mesh renderer's bones. Create a new configuration file from the context menu in the project view. This can be found by navigating to Create, Clothing Culler, Clothing Culler Configuration. To start the configuration process, open the configuration editor window by navigating to Window, Clothing Culler, Edit Configuration. Create a prefab category in the prefabs tree view. And then add the prefabs to a category by dragging it from the project view into a category. This will also automatically add an occlude component to the prefab. Generate a configuration file for it and link them together. The next step involves configuration occluder relationships among the newly added prefabs. To do this, select a prefab and then drag another prefab from the prefab tree view into either the occludes or occluders tree view. The next step is to click on the prefab occluders or occludes and click the view button. This is to generate occlusion data for the newly added occluder relationships. This is done in a separate scene. Once you are inside the scene, you will see both the occlude and occluders meshes. You can then generate occlusion data using the generate button. Green faces indicate that they are visible and will not be culled. Red faces indicate that they are occluded and will be culled. If you need more control, you can paint faces using the cursor. You can clear or invert the data, or set the brush radius, or set the occluder alpha, and set the wireframe mode. After completing the process, press the Done button. And then the final step is validating your configured prefabs by toggling the Validate Prefabs button. Then add the Clothing Culler script to the parent object and set the config and rig root. Because I use nested clothing approach, I don't need to re-register the culling. I can add the register all occludes script to the parent and set the Clothing Culler to exactly catch from this object. Let's check it and see what we get. If you encounter that it needs more body to be culling, you can always back and paint. This is wonderful. If I want to make changes to the model, it would take forever. Again, thanks to the developer. I hope these assets could help you on your project. Be sure to check it out and support the developer. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to see more tips and tutorials on the channel. See you next time.